Just before we get started, I want to say this is going to be a hypothetical discussion. I'm not providing a build guide or anything like that, so if that's not your thing, feel free to click off if you're going to. But what we're talking about here is going to be the epic that's included in the Armand's fusion, an epic that I actually haven't really seen anybody talk about at all, much to my surprise yet. So this is going to be Khafru the Deathkeeper. He does have kind of mediocre reviews so far as well, but I think that this guy might be absolutely fantastic in the arena, potentially even lower end live arena, if you're trying to progress in tag arena, all that sort of good stuff. And why is that? Well, I've covered this in my other videos, but one of the most common picks in live arena that I'm facing right now is going to be Sun Wukong, who comes in here and has a buff strip. He's placing sheeps on people, all that sort of good stuff. So just a super annoying champion to go against. What is something that he can't do, though? He can't remove passive skills or gear set effects or anything like that. There's actually no champions in the game so far that can actually mitigate the effects of a gear set, apart from maybe Narcisse, where he's ignoring the damage reduction effects of gear or passives. I don't know if it even counts gear as well. I would have to check that, honestly, but essentially what I'm getting at with this guy is his passive. So he decreases the damage all allies receive by 10%, and he receives that damage instead. So what makes this so interesting? What makes this so good? Well, first of all, he also has an AoE hit with a very decent multiplier. I believe this is a 4.1 multiplier on a defensive base skill. So he's going to attack all enemies. Before attacking, he removes one random debuff from all allies. Damage increases by 5% for each debuff removed, and he heals each ally by 10% of his max HP if a debuff was removed from them. He has very good base HP at 18,000 there. He's decently fast and very good base defense. So he has good base defense, he has a good multiplier, he has a decent nuke, and he has a passive that reduces damage for your team. Not only that, but he's also transferring a random debuff from himself to a target, and he's placing an unkillable for himself and a taunt for 2 turns. This guy is possibly insane. We'll have to see how he plays in the arena. I'm going for the fusion, of course, for Armand, so I'm just hoping that I get a second, or rather a spare, of this guy. So I hope I pull him from a void shard or something like that, because I'm definitely going to be building him and using him. And here is what I'm thinking. So if I find one of the versions of him that I have at like 50 here, because, you know, I'm working on the fusion, what am I thinking? So we have the option to apply stone skin accessories. We have 9 slots in total, which means that technically we can apply 2 4-piece sets or more if you're doing, you know, 2-piece sets or, you know, progressive sets, that sort of good stuff. So essentially, ideally, we would have 2 to 3 pieces of stone skin on the accessories. I don't know if I really have any that's not being used, honestly, but 2 to 3 pieces here. You only really need 2 pieces because you can collect the other 2 pieces of stone skin from your regular gear. And then the other 4 pieces would be something like, let's see, where is it here? Something like Guardian, where the wearer absorbs 10% of all damage dealt to ally champions and heals by 10% each turn. So you can already see the effect of stacking Guardian with his passive, where he's, and there's more math that goes into it than this, but he's technically reducing damage by like 20%. So that's already like having a strengthen on your team on its own. But it gets better. So if we come over here to masteries, and if we look at some of these masteries here, so he decreases the damage an ally receives from the first enemy hit in each round by 20%. And this champion receives that damage instead. There's another mastery in here too. There it is, right there, Bulwark. So he's going to decrease the damage all allies receive by 5%. He receives that damage instead. So if we take the 10% from Guardian, we take the 10% from his passive, we take the 20% from the other mastery and the 5% from this, he's mitigating 45% roughly of incoming damage on the first turn, and then after that he's going to be mitigating 25% of the damage still. So at best it's like having an ally protection on your team that cannot be stripped, decreased, or just stolen, and at worst it's like having a strengthen on your team that cannot be decreased, stolen, or removed. This is awesome, in my opinion. This is incredible. He's truly like a mini Necrit, right? Which they knew what they were doing, because Necrit's Guardian right here, they're making a reference to Necrit there, right? So And the other thing with this guy too, so not only do you have damage reduction that can't be removed, decreased, or stolen, you also then, if you have him in Stone Skin, he's not taking any of that damage, it's just going straight into the Stone Skin. Then once he finally gets a turn, and you can build him slow as hell, but once he finally gets a turn, he's going to remove a debuff from your team, which in a lot of cases in Live Arena, you might only have one debuff on there. You might have a stun, or you might have a decreased speed, or you might have a decreased attack, or you might have a block active skills or block passive skills, whatever it might be. He's going to come in, he's going to remove it, he's going to nuke the enemy team, he's going to heal your allies, and then he can also place an unkillable on himself and a taunt. So he's basically forcing the enemy to just target you, so that some of your stronger single target nukers out there, like Wukong's A2, like George's A1, I believe, as well as maybe his A2, I think is also single target that ignores Stone Skin. You also have very strong single target nukers like Rotos, so if your UDK gets banned. Narcisse, I believe, has some single target stuff on there. So many champions that are doing single target hits. This guy's going to say, hey, you know what, those single target hits are coming to me. Not to mention, you can also get a lot of use out of this as being basically a taunt and unkillable combo for Hydra. There's already some videos on that. Let me know down below what you guys think, and if you're going to build this champion for this purpose, because I am willing to bet that if you're in anywhere between gold 1 to 5 in arena, that you could definitely get use out of this guy. If you're pushing into plat, you're probably going to need a Necrit, or you're probably going to need somebody that can just do a little bit more damage mitigation for your team. But I'm also willing to bet that if you're in the lower end of live arena as well, or if you're pushing for that gold 1 mark in tag team arena, you can probably get use out of them as well. The Marius missions here require that we get to silver 3 live arena. So if we go and look here, that's all the way down here, right? So only 1,800 points. I'm already up at 2,700, 2,900, and I don't even have that good a gear on my champions, in all honesty, if you've seen my account before. So it would be very easy to push to this level, and I can say personally from experience that if I was pushing to this level, I would use a champion like this on my account, because if I come into the account here, I don't have the legendary protection champions that you might think of when you think of the arena. So somebody like a Kyoku or an Ursuga, or you know, something like that, right? I just don't have that. I don't have Duchess with her damage mitigation passives. The closest thing to that I have is a Pythion, who, you know, gets banned sometimes or whatnot. So this champion could come in and fill those roles, and I'm very confused why nobody's talking about this. I think he's been overshadowed quite heavily by the fusion champion himself, Armand's the Magnificent, which, to be honest, this guy is pretty damn magnificent. But if you take a look at this guy's kit, if you take a look at his multipliers, if you take a look at what he can do in the right gear, he can do some nasty, nasty stuff, and I'm very interested to see how people make that happen, right? So if we think about even Classic Arena during the resets and everything like that, I know Shinny actually got quite popular for using somebody like a Gala Longbraids, right? Like an epic champion that nobody really thought could make it into Platinum Arena, and he was using her on a reset to push into Platinum Arena, right? Just a regular old epic champion. Granted, she's a fantastic epic, but personally, if I pull this champion, I'm going to build him out, and I'm going to see how high I can push into the arena with him, because I definitely think he has potential. I can see it there. I'm just hoping I pull a duplicate of him, or that I'm able to somehow get enough fragments, even though they said the maximum was 450 and I need 4 of them for the fusion, right? But I just want to share this with you guys, get your thoughts. Let me know down below if you guys think this guy's also crazy. Let me know if you think that you'll use him. If you would use them if you don't have them, or let me know if you're skipping the fusion and just taking the epics, and if you think this guy's going to be a good choice for you, because, you know, you might not have been able to reach the final goal of the fusion or something like that. I know a lot of free-to-play players might not be able to make it if you haven't been saving resources. Some of the Dungeon Diver stuff has been excruciating, even for my account, so let me know. Thank you guys all so much for all the support on the channel recently. I very much appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time.